The sun was setting on the small town of El Paso as a handsome stranger rode into town. The locals eyed him warily as he made his way to the saloon, his long coat flapping in the wind behind him as he walked through the swinging doors. The handsome stranger made his way to the bar and ordered a whiskey. The bartender, a portly man with a bushy mustache, poured him a drink and eyed him suspiciously. "What brings you to El Paso, stranger?" the bartender asked. The handsome stranger took a sip of his whiskey and looked around the room. "I'm just passing through," he said. "I've got some business to attend to here." The bartender nodded, but he didn't look convinced. The stranger finished his drink and made his way to a table in the corner of the saloon. He sat down and watched the other patrons carefully. As the night wore on, the saloon filled up with cowboys and other rough characters. They drank and gambled, shouting and laughing as they played cards and dice. The handsome stranger sat quietly in the corner, sipping his whiskey and keeping to himself. But as the night wore on, he began to notice something strange. There was a man in the saloon who seemed to be watching him closely. He was tall, muscular, with a thick beard and a rough, weathered face. He wore a Texan Stetson hat and a pair of red pistols on his hips. His eyes were cold and calculating. The handsome stranger didn't know who this man was, but he could feel the tension building in the room. The other patrons seemed to be waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, the man with the pistols stood up and made his way to the stranger's table. He loomed over the stranger, his hand hovering near his guns. "You're not from around here, are you?" the man growled. The handsome stranger looked up at him calmly. "No, I'm not, but I'm not looking for any trouble." The man snorted. "That's too bad, because I am." He drew his red guns and aimed them at the handsome stranger. The other patrons in the saloon scrambled for cover, but the handsome stranger didn't move. He simply looked up at the man with a steady gaze. The man hesitated for a moment, then pulled the triggers. But the handsome stranger was quicker on the draw. The man with the red pistols fell to the ground, his guns clattering to the floor beside him. The other patrons in the saloon watched in stunned silence as the handsome stranger calmly holstered his gun, showed his ranger badge, and walked out the door. As he rode out of the south side of town, the ranger sang a song under his breath. It was a song he had sung many times before, a song about a man with a big iron on his hip. Of course, for the small-town people of El Paso, they would never forget what the handsome ranger did with a big iron on his hip. But for the handsome ranger, it was just another day on the trail, another town to pass through, and another song to sing.